Ladies and gentlemen, I'm freaking excited. In the coaching program right now, we just had a guy who lost his virginity and he was so unbelievably excited and he was so energetic and just giddy and kind of reminded me of what this whole process was like for me at the very start. And even when I first lost my virginity when I was 19, this guy was like excited and everything was new again. And it kind of just made me very happy, made me remember why I like coaching. I kind of wanted to share with all of you. Now, let's get to the topic at hand. I have ADHD. If I hadn't told you, would you have known? Would you have guessed? Would you even give a shit? Probably not. And one of the guys in my coaching program recently was just diagnosed with ADHD, and his son was as well. And he was very heartbroken by this. He was taking it very personally. He was saying things like, I feel like I'm literally broken, like I'm kind of fucked up and I can't ever be normal and my son can't be normal. And it made me want to sit down and record this podcast. And this is something that I've thought about talking about for probably years at this point. You know, the fact that I, Andy, have ADHD. But I never have for several reasons. Probably the first one is I just don't give a shit. Like, literally, I don't care. It's not something that I ever really think about until it comes up, you know, like this client, you know, will, or someone else will be going through it. And then I'll want to sort of jump in and be like, hey, that's okay. I have ADHD too. Here's how I've dealt with it. Here's how I've improved it. Here's how I've seen it as a superpower, which it is, or it can be. And I'll get to that in a second. But it's something that I just never really gave a shit about. It's just, I'm someone that doesn't like goofy labels, and I find labels like ADHD and like being on the spectrum and all of that, they can serve a purpose, but they can also just be incredibly fucking goofy, and people will use them to pigeonhole themselves, or other people will pigeonhole you if you happen to have one of these labels attached to you. And there are so many limiting things that happen when you pigeonhole yourself. It's the same reason that I don't talk in terms of like left versus right politics and stuff like that. That shit's just like incredibly goofy to me. It's really, really, really goofy and such a clumsy attempt at explaining who you are as a human being or what your philosophies or your values or your opinions might be, to just label yourself as I'm liberal or I'm conservative. It's missing the nuance and the gray of who you are as a person. You're sticking yourself in a nice, neat little box that doesn't really mean much, or another way of phrasing that is it can mean different things to different people. It's kind of a useless label. Like, what the fuck does conservative mean? Can you be a conservative who's also for gay marriage? Well, that's not conservative, but it is conservative. Like, there's just so many different grays in there that get mixed up or get completely lost when you try and pigeonhole yourself. And so I feel the same with labels, you know, with things like ADHD. Ultimately, I don't feel like it serves me to sit around going, oh, I have ADHD, I have ADHD. Who gives a shit? I would rather look at my personality traits. I would rather look at my values. I would rather look at myself as a person and then see each individual trait that I might have or might not have as something that can be improved. I've said this before. I like to see myself and I like to see human beings almost like characters in a video game. You know, like you're playing an RPG game and you have all your different stats. You have strength, you have agility, you have intelligence, you have wisdom, you know, dexterity, all the different traits or the different stats, I guess. And through grinding or experience or really just practice, you can level up each one of those things. And so if you are someone that has ADHD, or what I've done, you know, with my ADHD is, and even talking about it feels fucking weird because this just isn't how I think about myself. I literally never think, oh, I have ADHD. Like, it never even crosses my fucking mind until something like this happens and someone has a big panic attack and goes, oh my God, I've been diagnosed. I'm fucked up. I'm broken. I'm not normal. Oh my God. But what I've done in my own life is I've looked at the personality traits that I have, or I've looked at some of the things that I might struggle with. Like, I have trouble focusing, or I used to have trouble focusing until I found a whole bunch of strategies and techniques and things to improve it. But I will look at each one of those personality traits that I have, and I will say, how can I improve that a little bit? How can I take some baby steps to be 1% more focused this week? How can I be 1% better at not getting distracted, which is just focus? How can I be 1% less hyperactive? Or I like to phrase it as, how can I be 1% more calm, more peaceful? That's why I have worked so, I guess, obsessively in a beautiful way with peace and love and stoicism and Buddhism and Byron Katie and all of the people that I talk about. Yeah, it's because of this stuff. And so rather than seeing it as something where you're broken, if any of you happen to have ADHD traits yourself, I prefer to call them personality traits. If you have symptoms where you struggle to concentrate, or you struggle to focus, or you feel like you're just constantly getting distracted, which, by the way, is basically everyone now. Congratulations, like social media gave everyone ADHD anyway. So this is basically everyone. Basically everyone has struggled or has a struggle with not getting distracted. Basically everyone is constantly unfocused and is just hyperactively fucking scrolling through TikTok and Instagram and all of that. So everyone has ADHD now. This video is now relevant to basically everyone. But if you struggle to focus, work on being able to focus a little bit more. If you struggle with being distracted, work on being a little bit more narrow focused so you can concentrate on something and not just be pulled in different directions. If you struggle with hyperactivity, work on being more peaceful, work on meditation, work on Buddhism, work on any of these topics, Stoicism. Give yourself the space to just sit there and do nothing. If you're feeling constantly distracted and hyper focused, go do the opposite and see how that feels. So all of this stuff is stuff that you can just improve a little bit more at a time, or a tiny bit at a time. And the fact that I used to struggle so much with concentrating and with being hyperactive and with just fidgeting and never being able to listen and being in the middle of a conversation and someone's saying something and my brain is a million miles away. I'm not even here. I have forgotten that there's even a human being in front of me. That has happened like 50,000. That's just my life, right? But the fact that I have had those, I guess you could call them personality traits, has meant that I have concentrated really hard and put a lot of time and effort and focus and love on improving those things so that I can basically, or the consequence is I've basically shot infinitely far ahead of the average person. I can concentrate and focus far better than, like I said, 99% of people, because everyone's using social media. Everyone's constantly TikToked and Instagrammed. I sound like a boomer when I say that, but because I have worked on these things, because I really kind of needed to in order to be productive, I had to figure out how to focus. I had to figure out how to not be distracted. I had to figure out how to listen when someone is standing there talking to me. And by the way, my answer to that is I'll just be honest and I'll say, hey, I'm really sorry I zoned out. What did you say? I heard something about this. Can you fill me in? And I'll just be honest about that. And I don't put this pressure on myself that I have to fucking be perfect or any of this stuff. In other words, I don't define myself by my perceived flaws. I just work on improving them. I work on what I want and moving towards that. And with things like meditation, yeah, I'm probably fucking better than 99% of people, like average people, at meditating. The average person doesn't really meditate anyway, so there you go. But, because I've needed to work on these things, I've put so much time and effort into them that I would now say I'm more calm than the average person. I'm more peaceful than the average person, but I sure as hell was not at the start, particularly in school. All right, let's go back to this client of mine, the guy who was feeling broken. Like, he literally used the word broken. He literally said, I've got this diagnosis, and so does my son. They both got diagnosed at the same time. And he said, I feel broken. Like, I actually feel like a broken human being. Like, I'm not good enough. I can never be good enough. I'm broken. And he asked me if I was on any medication and sort of how I felt about ADHD in general. And I'm going to read out what I said to him because I think a lot of this might be useful for some of you, if you're just curious, or if you might have a little bit of ADHD symptoms yourself, or if you're just on fucking TikTok or YouTube Shorts, you probably gave yourself ADHD without realizing it. But what I said to him is, God no, as in no, I'm not on medication. This beautiful ADHD brain of mine has brought me so many successes and beautiful moments. No way in hell am I medicating any of it away. I love every single part of my personality and my brain and the way my mind works. My mind is a temple. No medication, please. You can see there what I'm basically saying is, why do I need to fix this? Why is this broken? Why don't I just accept the current reality of this is how my brain works? This is how my life is. It's all I've ever known. Like, we all have solipsism to some degree, or to 100% degree. And solipsism just means you can't imagine what it would be like to actually be someone else. You can kind of guess about what it might be like, but you've never spent a single second in someone else's brain. You've always been this. You've always been in this brain. And so if you've never known any different, cool. That's what it is to be you. Now work with that. Instead of going, I'm not good enough. I wish I was more like normal people. Instead of comparing yourself to other people, work with what you've got and improve that. So I went on to say to him, My beautiful hyperactive brain is the reason that I'm able to record you guys and girls long 1 hour voice messages about any random topic. So what I'm talking about there is in my coaching program, people will often make a post in the group and they'll ask some question, and then I'll just get obsessed with that question. I'll get excited. You guys and girls have seen on this channel, I get excited about stuff, and I will just go down a rabbit hole for an hour, and I will pour my heart and soul out to that person, and I will just give them so much love, so much advice, so much motivation, such a big push. It's probably what you're paying for. Cam has said this before. When you're paying for the coaching, you're paying for Andy to give you big, long 1 hour, 2 hour long excited rants that get you fired up and change your life and all of that. That's due to my hyperactivity. That's a fucking beautiful thing. Why would I want to get rid of that? That's probably my favorite part of myself. It's what Cam has said is one of his favorite parts of me. It's what Imogen has said is one of her favorite parts of me, is that I'll go down this rabbit hole and someone will ask a very basic question. You'll see this if you come on my live streams. You'll see this in these videos. One of you will ask a very basic question. Hey, Andy, what do I text a girl that I like if I want to go on a date with her? And I'll just fucking go down this rabbit hole of like 1 hour of passion and excitement because I care. You know, the fact that my brain works this way means that I deeply fucking care about concepts or topics that I focus on. It also means that sometimes I'm easily distracted and all of that. So I've just learned strategies to deal with that. And again, I'll talk about some of them in a second. This video is going to have some strategies, but I'll keep reading. I said to the guy, my brain is the reason why I spent 9 months of my life writing a 130,000 word Tinder guide. Think about that for a second. Think about how obsessed you have to be to write a Tinder guide that's not just like, hey guys, here's how to meet some women and have sex on Tinder. It's here's how to improve yourself fundamentally as a human being. Here's how to improve every facet of yourself, from your looks, from your mind, from your happiness, everything, your entire life, everything. Now here's how to start getting matches. Here's literally an autistic fucking detailed breakdown of how all the apps work and every single setting in there and all of that. Now here's everything to message and how it doesn't matter so much what you message, but fuck, here's like, 50,000 words on what to message and all of this shit and blah, 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 and how it's okay if you fuck up and don't worry about being a perfect human being. Just go with the flow and blah, blah, blah. Then here's a whole section on what to do on the dates. It's okay to be nervous, blah, blah, blah. Like literally everything. Hey, here's how to have foreplay. Here's how to do it if you're a virgin, you don't know what you're doing. Here's how to have sex. Here's how to have mind-blowing sex. Here's how to turn a casual sexual hookup on Tinder into a full-blown relationship. Here are all the relationship skills and all the things that would make someone want to stick around for a little bit longer than, a casual friends with benefits. Like all of that. I wrote all of that in like 9 months. And trust me, it was a fuckload of work and it was very intimidating. That's only because I'm fucking hyper fixated on stuff when I get obsessed with a topic. When I get passionate about something, you can't stop me from doing it. I will do it. I went on to say, it's the reason, this brain of mine is the reason why I've done 1,700 pieces of content in just 4 years. It's the reason I've poured my heart and soul into my relationship with Imogen, my girlfriend, and become obsessed in a good way with building the best relationship possible. It's the reason I've been hyperfixated on love and peace and happiness and joy and spirituality and Buddhism and all of that stuff and gone so deep with it all and worked on being peaceful, worked on being calm. It's the reason I lost 77 pounds in 9 months. I was obsessed with that. It's the reason I became obsessed with getting good with women, and I went from I don't even know how to say hi to a girl I like to I'm having threesomes and foursomes whenever I want. It's the reason that I pour my heart and soul into each one of you in the coaching program, and I become utterly obsessed with giving you as much value as I possibly can in exchange for the money that you've paid me. It's the reason that most of my coaching calls, which are supposed to be 1 hour long, end up going for 2 or 3 hours. I become obsessed in a good way with being there for you and giving you everything that I have to give and holding nothing back. It's the reason that I've gone so deep with honesty, like true honesty. I'm obsessed with it. I mean, my fucking tattoo on my arm says speak truth. That's how obsessed I am with truth and honesty and all of that. It's the reason that I got so good at BDSM. I became obsessed with it in the most beautiful way. I could list 100 different things. Why on earth would I medicate this beautiful brain and remove all of the beautiful gifts that it has given me? I say this a lot when it comes to ADHD. ADHD is not a bad thing. I told this client, give me 3 reasons right now, why ADHD could be the most beautiful gift you and your son ever have been given. ADHD is a gift if you channel it. ADHD people or people with these personality traits. Again, I don't even like saying ADHD people. It's such a fucking stupid label. But people who have the personality traits of ADHD tend not to have something to focus on. So society or doctors, and especially school, will say, this kid is shit at concentrating. They're a problem. They're a bad child or they're a bad person. No, you just didn't give the kid something to focus on that he really cares about. You know, I myself, Andy, really fucking struggled in school because most of it was retarded shit that I just didn't care about. And most people in school didn't care about. Most of them were just somehow able to sit there and take it and just sit there like a doormat and go, yes, sir, yes, madam, I'll just sit here and listen to a bunch of bullshit that I don't care about. But for me, I just couldn't. There was something in my brain that's like, this is torture. This is literally fucking 6 hours a day of torture of me sitting here and you telling me shit I don't care about. And then yet when I would hit a class or go into a class where I did care about it, physics, I didn't mind chemistry, I liked maths quite a lot, especially physics because it was the real world and how it worked and all of that kind of stuff. When I would go into those classes, oh man, I could concentrate. When you put me in sport, when I could do physical education, we could play soccer, we could play, tennis, we could run around, we could play football, whatever the fuck it was. Oh man, did I concentrate. I gave it my all. I was 100% all in. And so someone who has the personality traits of ADHD tends not to be very good at concentrating on shit they don't give a fuck about. Why would that ever be a bad thing? That just sounds normal to me. Why should I concentrate on something that's wasting my time, that I am not passionate about? I'm not acting with integrity when I sit there doing something that I don't want to do. Sounds like a lie to me. I'm lying to myself. So I go on to say, once you give someone with ADHD traits something to really focus on, man, they go hard. They achieve massive, insane things and do beautiful, big goals. If you can give them the strategies or the tools to focus on that thing and not get distracted. I go on to say, and that's all I've ever done. I've simply learned strategies to improve every single area of my mind and my personality, particularly the hyperactive and the addictive parts of my personality. I've done things like meditate. I've done things like go deep on stoicism. Byron Katie, David Hawkins, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, all of the Stoics. They're very good at helping you be a lot more peaceful. I've done things like setting peace or being more calm as a goal, like an actual goal that I work towards. Can I be more peaceful? Can I be more calm? Can I be more centered and present instead of constantly hyperactive and pulled in different directions and distracted? And I've set these things as goals, and then I've slowly improved at them over the last 10 years. I mean, it's probably been longer than that, but 10 years of going pretty hard. I do things like using a calendar and reminders constantly so I don't forget things. I have to do that like daily. Like there's like 10 things in my fucking calendar so I don't forget. And I use alarms so that I won't forget. Because yes, if I don't, I will go off for a walk or something, and then before I know it, oh shit, I had a coaching call. Holy fuck, I forgot about that. Or I'll, I don't know, be on a coaching call and it will go for like, I've had some coaching calls go for fucking 5 hours because we're just so both in the moment of like improving this thing, or, I'm giving as much advice as I can. And then I'm like, oh shit, I had another coaching call. Whoops. So I have calendar reminders. I have alarms that go off so I don't forget. And I just have like 10 reminders in my phone every day for all the stuff that I want to do so that I don't forget. I have cut down on caffeine and stimulants. I take time every day to calm my mind, usually at night, but I will do it in the morning sometimes as well. So I said to him, on the next coaching call that we have, I'll give you my full thoughts on all of this. But I believe that ADHD is often a negative diagnosis. What I mean by that is the diagnosis, as in someone saying to you, hey, you have ADHD, often does more harm than good for a very large number of people. Or rather, the stigma that is attached to it can really mess with a huge number of people, like it has with this client. I said to him, look at the word that you used. You said the word broken. Oh, you beautiful man, how could you ever be broken? You are such an incredible human being, and the fact that a label has been stuck on you means literally nothing, and it does nothing to change who you are. You are not your ADHD. You are, and then I said his name, And your son is your son. No label changes that. And then I sent him an article with a list of ADHD symptoms, and we'll go through this article in a second. But what I said to him is, in the meantime, what if you were to do this fun exercise? And you can do it with your son too if you want. It can be a fun little bonding experience between the two of you. Go through this article with all the symptoms of ADHD and look at all of these symptoms, including the separate list of symptoms for children, because it sort of manifests a little bit different in children. It's not that it's different, but like you might notice it in different ways in children. Each one of them, like each one of the symptoms, write down one or two things that you could do to slowly get 1% better at that thing. In other words, how could you improve that thing? Instead of seeing it as a diagnosis and, oh, fuck, I'm broken, I'm always going to suffer with focusing. No, fuck that. How can I get better at focusing? Every problem has a solution. I talked about this in my video course. There's an entire chapter in my Play to Win video course called Focus on Solutions, Not Problems, or every problem has a solution. Focus on improving that thing. And I said, again, you and your son can do it together. You can write a couple of things that he could do to improve that particular symptom or that thing, and a couple of things that you could do to improve that symptom in yourself. For example, one symptom of ADHD can be you make careless mistakes. For example, you're making constant careless mistakes in your schoolwork. And so for your son, he might say, okay, I'll get my dad to check my homework before I submit it. And I'll give myself permission to suck, and I'll be okay with making mistakes sometimes. I'm not perfect. No human being is. And I said to him, this client, and you might yourself say to your son, yeah, and I'll give myself permission to suck too. I'll check your homework, but if I make a mistake in checking it, that's cool. And if I make mistakes as I go through my life, that's okay too. I'm not perfect. Your dad's not perfect. You're not perfect. That's cool. We can be two imperfect human beings together, and we'll just improve. We'll be two people that suck at homework sometimes, and we'll get a little bit better. Another symptom of ADHD can be a lack of focus, or like I can't focus. And so I said to this client, what you could do, things that I've done, is you could use apps or websites like Block Site or Stay Focused, and there's a billion other apps and extensions for Chrome and all of that kind of stuff, to block distracting websites and social media, to like remove the news feed on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. I have apps that remove the fucking news feed, so there's nothing there. And I only use social media to post my content. I don't go on social media and scroll and doom scroll and all of that shit, because I will doom scroll for like 8 fucking hours and I'll waste the day. And I could do that for like weeks at a time. So I just block all of that shit. I've talked about that in content before. I said another thing you could do is minimize your social media use as much as possible, like I have. I said, seriously, this one has helped me so much. All social media apps want to drain my time and constantly distract me. That is the purpose of social media in this current age. Where we are right now, literally I can't say every single social media apps. All the social media apps that I can think of are literally designed by scientists, by psychologists, by fucking teams of hundreds of people, thousands of people who are smarter than you and smarter than me and better at manipulation and all of that. They're literally designed to keep you hooked. And that's not some nefarious thing like they're trying to ruin your life or some shit. No, like they at the end of the day just want attention and money. And if they don't do that, then you'll just go to the other app that takes your time and attention and money and gives you that sweet, sweet heroin addiction of, attention and focus and entertainment and all of that. But knowing this means I can minimize the amount of time that I spend on that, because it's like heroin to me. It's like heroin to most people, by the way. That's why I said the vast majority of, society has basically given themselves ADHD through fucking TikTok and Instagram and YouTube shorts and all of that kind of shit and social media in general. Another thing that I do that has been amazing is I turn off all notifications on my phone. And I literally have all notifications off except for my calendar so that I can get reminders, and phone calls so that someone can phone me if they need to. Everything else has notifications off. I don't get notifications for text messages. I don't get notifications for Facebook. I don't have the Facebook app even installed. I don't have notifications for Telegram, WhatsApp, nothing. No notifications on my phone. My phone is fucking blank. I don't know if you're going to be able to see, but right there are 2 fucking notifications, and they are both reminders for me. Nothing else. Only calendar reminders. Take your fucking vitamins this morning, meditate at night, you're seeing Imogen today. Hey, today you're having a threesome. Hey, you got a coaching call at this time. Hey, don't forget your group coaching calls are at this time. That's it. That's all that my phone ever fucking tells me. I don't want anything else because I will get distracted. No other notifications. That's been a game changer. That's a game changer for like fucking normies. Like my friends, they've all started doing that too because they're like, holy shit, this is like way better. I don't have like a bunch of bullshit apps notifying me constantly. And when I'm working on my, or when I'm using dating apps, when I'm using Tinder, Hinge, all of that kind of stuff, I don't even have them installed on my fucking phone. Like, they're not on the phone. When I want to use them, I would just go into the website. You can go into like web.tinder.com and I'll just use that. But like, yeah, if I sit there on my phone, like I will just constantly be checking my phone, waiting for notifications. Oh, someone else replied. Oh, and I'm getting pulled in different directions. So no, thank you, sirree. Another symptom of ADHD that a lot of you might be able to relate to, I think most human beings can relate to this, is being unable to stick to tasks that are tedious. And I said to my client, yes, this is the reason why I always ask all of you, and I say the same on my content, in my content, all of you, and I always ask myself, what do you want? What do you want? What do you actually want? I, Andy, and a lot of human beings, can't stick to tasks that I don't want to do. And what most people do is they will force themselves to do it anyway. And they'll go, yeah, I don't want to do this, but I should just use force and willpower and motivation. And I should push myself. I should guilt trip myself. I should yell at myself. I should call myself a pussy. And then, golly gee, I wonder why I don't have any energy at the end of the day. I wonder why I'm so drained and tired and stressed and I have no willpower to work on my goals. I wonder why I need to drink a fucking beer every day after work to self-medicate because I just spent the entire day doing a bunch of shit I don't want to do. I wonder why my life fucking sucks when I spend it doing shit I don't want to do. And so what I have found is I just don't do the tasks that I don't want to do. Simple as that. And if it's something that I think would massively add to my life, but I don't, I'm not super excited to do it, like doing the dishes in that kitchen behind me, I don't get super passionate about doing the dishes. I have two solutions to that. If I don't want to do the dishes, rather than forcing myself and using willpower and draining that beautiful willpower, and I only have a limited amount of it every day, rather than that, one option is I pay someone to come and clean my fucking apartment. That's an option. A second option is I ask Imogen to do it in exchange for me doing something for her that I want to do. And so we kind of delegate tasks. And this is my apartment. She has her own apartment, but she will sometimes come over quite often and do my fucking dishes. And then I will do something for her in exchange. The third option that I have is I can find a way to make it fun so that I want to do it. In other words, I don't have to suffer while I do the dishes. I don't have to suffer while I work on my goals in general. That mindset has been such a game changer, finding ways to enjoy everything that I do. And if my brain says, I don't want to do that task, then I go, okay, what is a way that I would want to do it? Okay, what if I put a movie on while I wash the dishes? What if I just meditate while I wash the dishes? What if I put a beautiful song on that I really love? Right now, I'm really into classical music and piano music and stuff like that. What if I put that on and I just feel the music and listen to it and kind of close my eyes and just wash those dishes? Wow, that could be a transcendental, can't say that fucking word. Transcendent, that's what I'm trying to say. That could be a transcendent, beautiful, meditative, almost spiritual fucking experience. I could have a spiritual experience washing the dishes if I find a way to make it really fun. If I sit there and give 50 reasons why I'm grateful for doing these dishes, that makes it fun. Like literally, I've found that if there's a task that my brain goes, I don't want to do this, I'm like, well, what if I find 50 reasons why I'm grateful that I get to do this, that I'm allowed to do this? I don't have to do this task, but do I want to do this task? And if I sit there and I go, you know what, it's cool that I get to wash the dishes because then they're nice and clean. I love that feeling that I get at the end of a session of doing the dishes. I love that feeling that the kitchen's nice and clean. It makes me feel proud of myself. It makes me feel grateful. It makes me feel beautiful to live in an apartment that's really clean. I get to have other people come in and say, wow, your house is, or your apartment's so clean. I get to feel good about that. And so I'll find ways that I'm grateful for this task, and then I'll do the task with gratitude. And so I've found ways to enjoy the stuff that I'm doing rather than what most human beings do, where they go, I just need to do it anyway. And they force themselves and they use like guilt tripping. Like I said, they will beat themselves up. They'll just do it. And then at the end of the day, they're like, man, I have no willpower left. Yeah, because you wasted it doing a bunch of shit that you didn't want to do. Either find different solutions to those tasks or find ways of really genuinely enjoying them so that you want to do them. I spend my entire life, I'll be very fucking clear about this. This might not fully make sense to some of you, but I'm being 100% literal when I say this. I spend my entire life doing things I want to do. I do not do a single thing in my entire life, not one single thing that I don't want to do. I will be fucking clear on that. And if there is ever something that I think I don't want to do that, like I said, I find a way to want to do it. I find a way for it to be fun. I find a way to be grateful that I get to do it. I find a way to see it as a gift, a beautiful opportunity, rather than a chore or like, oh, I don't want to have to do this. This sucks. This is a struggle. This is suffering. Again, I'm going to say this because I want this to be 100% clear. If you don't take anything else away from this podcast but this statement, I do not do a single thing in my life that I don't want to do. Everything that I do in my life, I want to do it. I am 100% crystal clear on that. And if you want more books that help with this, I mean, my video course covers this, but Byron Katie's books are one of the biggest. Her and two of my coaches, I'll say the three of them are the reason why I'm now in a position where I only do things I want to do. Imogen is in the exact same position. And it's funny because, 2 months ago, one of her coaches said to her on a coaching call, said to her, there are some things in life that we have to do and we have to force ourselves to do them. And it ultimately, it pays off and it works out because then we get what we want long term. And that's such a common mindset. And Imogen, after that call, came to me and said, something that my coach said to me today just felt really gross. Like not that the coach is gross, but like it felt gross when I tried to fit it into my own view of the world. It felt like it didn't fit. It felt like a lie. I feel like she told me a lie and she believed that lie. So it's not a lie to her, but to me, it would be a lie. And I was like, what was it? And she said, my coach said some things in life you just have to force yourself to do. And that just didn't feel right. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to force myself. I'd rather set my life up in a way where everything I do is what I want to do. And if ever my brain says, I don't want to do this, I want to find a way to enjoy it so that I want to do it. I want to find a way to be grateful for it so I can show up with a smile on my face and find pleasure in doing that activity instead of seeing it as a chore or resenting it or being negative or complaining about it. And I was like, beautiful. Yeah, that's how I've set my life up too. And so this isn't just some esoteric random thing that I'm saying, some hippie nonsense of like, oh, I only do what I want, man. Like, let's all do what we want. No, this isn't some libertarian principle. This is a literal statement. It is possible for you to literally only do things that you want to. It is possible for you to literally enjoy everything that you do and be grateful for it. Again, my video course, I'll show it on the screen. I'm talking about this, the Play to Win video course. There's a link in the description below to this. I have a link in all of my videos. I talk about it in this fucking video course of like how to find ways to enjoy everything you're doing, how to be grateful for every single thing in your life. I'm telling you that it is possible. Not only is it possible, but it is such a magical, beautiful way to go through life. So back to the topic at hand of ADHD. The symptom that can show up is being unable to stick to tasks that are tedious. Yeah, what if you no longer see those tasks as tedious? Think about what a fucking label or a value statement it is to say, oh, this task is tedious. Yeah, if you call it tedious, then you're not going to find it easy to stick to. So call it something else. Call it a beautiful opportunity to practice my meditation. Call it a beautiful opportunity to chill and have a little bit of a think. Call it a fucking gift that I even get to be alive in the first place to do this supposedly tedious task. How could you call anything fucking tedious when you get to be alive in that moment? What a fucking gift that is that you didn't even do anything to earn. I didn't do anything to earn the gift of being alive. And then yet you would argue with that moment and rebel against it and be like, this is tedious. I don't want to do this right now. It's like, motherfucker, like come on with 5 reasons you're grateful that you get to do this task. So if you can switch that mindset to a more positive one, again, my video course is probably the fucking bee's knees of how to do that. This is a video course on doing exactly that. But if you can switch it up in your mind and be grateful for every moment, there is no tedious shit. So what I said to this client is I've just found solutions that move me towards always doing what I want, listening to that voice inside me, that integrity inside me that says, hey, I don't really want to do this right now, or I want to do this, or I want to find a way to make this fun. If I'm going to do this, I want to find a way to enjoy this. I listen to that. It's not that difficult. It takes practice for sure, because you've probably, like me and like everyone, been conditioned to just think that there are things in life you have to do and you must do and you should suffer while you do them. There are things that if you want to stay alive and stay free in society, yes, you will need to do. You don't have to do them, but the consequences might be you're killed or you die or you go to prison or something. So there are certain things that you do, but you don't have to suffer while you do those things. They don't have to be a fucking chore. They can be a gift. They can be something beautiful. I brush my teeth with nothing but a smile. I mean, kind of literally, because you are kind of smiling while you do it, but brush my teeth with a smile on my face. I make my bed with a fucking smile that I get to do this beautiful thing and I get to be alive on this day doing this supposed chore. And in that way, nothing feels tedious. So listening to that inner voice and integrity, building a life that means I can do what I want to do instead of what I think I should do or what I need to do or what other people tell me to do. No, I do what I want, what I believe to be the good in that moment, what I believe to be the thing that will bring me joy and happiness and peace and love and happiness and peace and love to the people around me. And I go in that direction. And I don't sit there and tell myself a lie. It is a lie. I don't tell myself a lie, or maybe it's a story that this thing is tedious or this sucks or this isn't fair or why do I have to do this or I hate doing this or my boss sucks or my job sucks or this sucks. No, I'll find a way to enjoy that. And the final thing I said to this client was, and my hyperactive, amazing brain is the reason why I just wrote 20 fucking paragraphs and now sat down and recorded a YouTube video, which I will send to him as soon as I finish recording, to your one simple question of, Andy, do you take medication for your ADHD? So you see, guys, what I'm talking about, where I say labels can sometimes just be so fucking unhelpful. And maybe the label or the diagnosis of, hey, you have some ADHD symptoms, maybe that helps some people for sure. But for a lot of people, they just take that and the insinuation that comes with it is you have ADHD and that's a bad thing. You have ADHD and you're broken. You have ADHD and you'll never live a normal life. If you can remove all that bullshit, you can see your ADHD as something helpful, something useful. And that's what I said to this client. I said, give me 3 reasons, write 3 reasons why having ADHD could be the most beautiful fucking gift that you could ever imagine. I gave you like fucking 10 at the start of this podcast. You know what I mean? Like, it's the reason that I've been so obsessed with all of my goals. It is literally the reason. And now, to be very clear, you don't have to have a hyperactive brain to be successful. I think you should all know that, but I want to throw that in there. I have plenty of clients who are just the most calm, chill, peaceful people. Ed is probably the best example of that. And they're just like slow and steady. They don't tend to get obsessed with something. They just take slow progress over time and it all adds up. That's why I talk about baby steps and, you know, how helpful they have been to me and all of my clients. But my hyperactive brain, I am so unbelievably grateful for. And this is a podcast, not so much, this video is not so much about, you know, what to do if you have ADHD. This is a video that's a little bit more zoomed out than that. What I'm essentially saying is love yourself, work with yourself. Whatever your brain is, however your personality traits are, whatever your physical appearance, you know, whatever your weight, your height, your race, your voice, whatever it might be, your confidence or your lack of confidence, whatever it might be, work with yourself instead of sitting there, which so many of you do. And I think this is just part of the human condition. You sit there and you compare yourselves, or we sit there and we compare ourselves to other people. And we say, well, I'm not as tall as that person, so therefore I'm not as good. Well, I missed out on the college experience, so I'm a loser. Well, I'm in my 30s and, you know, I missed out, so it's too late for me. You will sit there and compare yourselves, or we will sit there and compare ourselves to other people, and we'll say, I fall short. I'm not good enough. No. Take a deep breath, realize that where you are right now, these are the cards that you have been given. This is the hand that you have been dealt. Play that hand with all that you've got. Instead of saying someone else has a better hand than me and that's not fair, say, this is my fucking hand. I'm going to show up with this hand. I'm going to improve this hand day by day. I'm going to make progress. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep improving. And I'm going to make the fucking most of this hand. I will not lose just because of the hand that I've been given. With this hand, I will play it with all I've got, and I will make the most beautiful life that anyone with this particular hand could ever fucking play. So many of you, including probably you watching right now, yes, you, sit there and say, I'm not as good as other people. I'm not good enough being me. I'm here to tell you, you are more than good enough being you. What I want you to do is turn this fucking video off, go outside the fucking house and be the best motherfucking you that you can ever be. Nobody else gets to be you. Go be the best you that this world has ever fucking seen.